Welcome to today's episode of the Perfume Preppy, where we talk about all things fragrance. Before we get started, be sure to click like and subscribe. That way you're notified whenever I release new fragrance-related content. Without further ado, let's get into it. Today's fragrance is going to be YSL Tuxedo. So I actually heard about this fragrance through a friend of mine. She was out shopping, and as they tend to do in department stores, especially high-end department stores, they're handing out fragrance samples, trying to get you to buy. And so this was in a few fragrance samples that she had, and she was like, "Well, I know you like fragrance, so I mean, I'll just give you some of these if you want to, take a look at them." And I was like, "Absolutely, bring them on." Fragrance samples, as you probably heard me mention on this channel, are a great way to, see if you actually want to purchase a fragrance, and it's a good way to avoid blind buying because you know how the fragrance breaks down on you. So as I said, she gave me a few samples that she had. Once again, shout out to my friend Joanne for that, so thank you. And in it, it was this fragrance, as I said, I'm talking about today. It's called Tuxedo, and it's by Yves Saint Laurent. So I'm going to get a little closer so you can see it. So this sample here, it's 0.11 ounces. So when you do this, the box kind of just slides out, almost like a book of matches. And then the vial is right here. So the sample's in a vial like this. So Tuxedo is a unisex fragrance, and it was launched in 2015. So it's been around a little over 10 years. The top notes are violet leaf, coriander, bergamot. Middle notes are rose, black pepper, lily of the valley, and the base notes are patchouli, bourbon vanilla, and ambergris. Now, what I can tell you is, yeah, you can definitely smell the bourbon vanilla in this. And you can definitely smell that top note of lily of the valley. But your nose, if you're used to smelling fragrances, you can also pick up some of the spice. As I mentioned before, there's black pepper in this. There's rose, which is one of the middle notes, which it's very faint, but I think that it does a really good job along with the bourbon vanilla of calming down the spice. As I said, there's coriander and there's black pepper. So when you have fragrances that have spicy accords like that, you definitely want other notes that can balance it out and kind of soften them, because if not, they just don't break down well. I mean, at least not on everyone. Now, I've smelled certain fragrances that are predominantly spice on other people, and they smell good on them, but on me, not so much. As I said, one of the base notes in here is patchouli. Once again, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, I am not a patchouli girl. Patchouli does not break down well on me. It has to be blended with other things. But I will say, when my friend first gave me this one, like I said, the other one she gave me, they were nice, but they were fragrances I heard of. This was the only one I hadn't. So I was a little curious, and I was like, okay, tomorrow I'm just going to, put a dab behind my ears and on my wrist, and let's see how it smells. Let's see how it breaks down. So this was about, I think, a summer. I think this was last summer. So it was in June, like middle of June going towards July. So I was like, this will be a perfect opportunity to see how it blends down. Once again, if you've been watching this channel, I talk about how external heat, like outside in the summer, it can cause certain like floral notes to bloom within a fragrance. It can even sometimes, change the fragrance because it does cause top notes to evaporate quicker. I mean, it makes all the notes kind of be more prominent faster because they're evaporating. But you can kind of get a sense, based on that, how it's going to smell on you, what's going to happen. And like I said, this was in the summer. But I did like how it broke down on me, and by like the end of the day, like, towards like 7:30, 8 o'clock, like by, the next day, that evening, it really smelled nice. Like I really liked how all the notes had blended together and the way the base smelled, and I really liked it. As I said, samples, they're great because they help you understand if you want to, buy a fragrance, because as you know, I'm not big on blind buying. I only did it during COVID, but I don't recommend it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Then you're stuck with a bottle of fragrance you don't even like. So anyway, this is part of a YSL fragrance collection called Le Vestiare de Parfums. And that is actually on the box. So on the other side, on the front it says Tuxedo, and then on the back it says that. I don't speak French, so if I butcher that, my apologies if anyone does speak French out there. So Tuxedo is actually part of 5 new releases within that collection. The total 5 are Caban, Caftan, Tuxedo, Saharine, and Trench. All of those are inspired by iconic pieces that Yves Saint Laurent designed as part of his runway collection, so clothing. And Tuxedo leads a bit more to the masculine, but as I said, it is a unisex fragrance and it does break down really well, as I said earlier. But it's very elegant and it's dark. And as I said, it has those accord spices, but it is softened by the violet leaf, the rose, and the vanilla bourbon. So if you're worried about it possibly being too spicy, don't. It softens it and it's a very nice blend. So I tried to kind of look around the internet as to where it was before I jumped on here. First, I went to fragrancenet.com. This video is not sponsored by them, but as you know, if you've been watching the channel for any length of time, fragrancenet.com is one of my favorite websites to buy fragrances from. So it's not a sponsored video, probably should be at this point. But when I went on this afternoon, fragrancenet.com, it was sold out, so they don't have it. But you can go on YSL's beauty website, and for a 1.2 ounce, it's 195. For a 4.2 ounce, it's 330, and it comes in a square white box that says Tuxedo, and then it says Yves Saint Laurent at the bottom. And also, this is only sold in eau de parfum, so they do not have it in eau de toilette or even a parfum itself. It is only sold in eau de parfum. But I did see on the website that they have the entire fragrance collection, but they're kind of in minis. I don't think they sell all 5 pieces of that fragrance collection that Tuxedo is a part of, like all in one. You have to go around, but I just saw like the minis, so I may do that, just get the minis and sample, and then come back on here and do a video about it. But yeah, I just wanted to jump on here because I wasn't sure if anyone had heard of this fragrance. And one thing that I like to do on this channel is turn people on to new fragrances, some that you might have heard of, some that you haven't, or even some that you might be curious to try, but you're like, I'll wait till I see a review because I don't really know anything about that fragrance. So yeah, I just wanted to jump on here and say that. So thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Friday, and I'll see you in the next video.